The PlayStation Store is running its colossal indie game sale right now with over 1,300 games discounted. There's a ton of games on sale. I dug up 10 games under the price of $5 that I think are solid pickups. So yeah, if you got a couple bucks left over on your PlayStation Store wallet, or you just want to stay on the cheap and pick up some great games, we're gonna let you do that with these titles. So let's get right into it, and I want to kick things off with Frictional Games' SOMA, which is 90% off for $2.99. This is a game that I often recommend, and it's done by Frictional, as I mentioned, the same guys that did Amnesia. They're famous for Amnesia, but I think SOMA is a better game. SOMA really does have that essence of a horror game in the sense that you kind of feel powerless through the game, and it also has that aura of being a very, very, a mentally engaging game, if that makes sense. It's very psychologically driven, and I love the setting of the game. Voice acting was excellent, and it really absorbs you into the game like a lot of other games don't. Like, you get super immersed into the game, and for $2.99, I think it's a great pickup. It's not the longest game in the world, but bear in mind, I paid the initial $30 for the game, and I thought it was a great pickup back in 2015, and just for $3, it's a great deal. Definitely go check that out, especially if you're a fan of horror games. Next up, another game I often go to bat for is a Banner Saga 1, which is 85% off for $3.74. I've said it before, but Banner Saga to me has a lot of elements that would make a very popular RPG. It's got a great story, it's got a great setting, it's got a great cast of characters, it's got everything that I would think would make this game a little bit more popular, but it never really got to that level of being a super well-known series of RPGs. However, it was well-known enough to get a trilogy of titles, Banner Saga 1, 2, and 3. By the way, all three of those games are on sale. However, I would definitely recommend to play the games sequentially, and they're all worthwhile to play. Banner Saga 1 is 85% off for $3.74, and that is a great deal. This is also a game that's just going to age really well from a visual standpoint, just because it employs such a unique art style that I think even in, 5, 6, 7 years from now, people are really going to dig the game. But nevertheless, for $3.74, I think it's a great pickup. Next up, we have Super Meat Boy, which I don't think I have to do an introduction for a lot of people. It is 70% off for $4.49, but if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber, you will save an additional $3, knocking it down to just $1.49. You guys know what Super Meat Boy is all about. If you find yourself to be a little bit of a masochist and you want to get into a game that's super difficult, super challenging, Super Meat Boy is the game for you. I love the visuals to it as well. It's not anything over the top, but it's super simplistic and gets the aura of the game across. Again, if you're into tough platformers, difficult platformers, Super Meat Boy is going to be right up your alley, and just for $1.49, easy recommendation here. Next up, we have SteamWorld Dig, which is 80% off for $1.99. Now, I should go into this recommendation mentioning that SteamWorld Dig 2 is a superior game in just about every way imaginable. However, that still goes for a relatively expensive price. When I say expensive, north of $5, let's put it that way. SteamWorld Dig, on the other hand, 80% off for $1.99. That's great. It's got a combination of like a steampunk and a western vibe going on for it, which maybe you would think that wouldn't go together great, but I thought they complemented each other really well. Quite a bit of replayability and a decent bit of content for the amount of money that you're spending as well. And if you're one of the 4 people that own a PlayStation Vita, I believe that this is one of those games that do offer a cross-platform play. So if you buy it on PS4, you get it on like Vita as well. I believe that's the case. Don't quote me on it, but yeah, if you have a PS4, you'll dig it for $1.99. That is a great pickup and a pretty solid Metroidvania title with maybe not the best of the best, considering the competition is so steep these days with Metroidvanias, but with the Metroidvania elements to it, I think that does make it a pretty good title for the money you're spending, just $1.99. Next up, we've got Aragami, which is 85% off for $2.99. Funny story on how I came across this game. I believe it was back in 2017. I had gone to PAX one year, and they were like selling games, and I just came across this copy of Aragami, the physical copy, and I was like, oh, it came in this deluxe box, and I was just like, you know what, let me just buy it. I think I paid like $35 or $40 for it, which was probably way too expensive. It was somewhere from $30 to $40, whatever. It was years ago, and I played it, and I had a really good time with it. It's this action stealth title with a really cool art style. I think that was one of the standout elements of the game. The art style is just very Well done, and if you like the idea of being like a stealthy assassin, I think Aragami is going to be right up your alley. And by the way, Aragami 2 is coming out later this year, so that goes to show that Aragami 1 did pretty well. But for just $3, I think it's a pretty good pickup, so do go check that out at this cheap of a price. Next up, if you want a quality co-op title that is just a blast to play with friends, I highly recommend Magicka 2 Special Edition. Magicka in general is one of those games that I played the first Magicka years and years ago, and I remember my first time playing it with a group of friends. Man, we had a blast with this game. No pun intended, because you guys kill each other and everything like that. It is a game that you don't go into it expecting something super serious. Go into it maybe with a couple beers in hand, and you're gonna have a great time with it. Don't play it solo. Like, you can play it solo, but I highly recommend you don't. Get a couple buddies to pick it up as well, and you're gonna have a fantastic time with Magicka 2. Just an absolutely chaotic experience, and for $4.99, I think it's quite good. Next up, Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun, $4.99. If you guys know me, you know that strategy games are not my cup of tea, but I really dug Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun with its Japanese Edo period setting. I think that stood the game apart. Great visuals in this one as well for a game that, you know, these strategy games, you typically don't go into them with blow-away visuals or any expectations of that. Mechanically, it's very well done as a strategy title, even though that's not my genre of choice. I can just tell. It's a well-designed game. Now, it can get very challenging, so if you don't want something that's challenging, maybe this isn't the best one, but there is a variety of different difficulty settings. But yeah, it does get pretty hard if you play on one of the harder settings. But $4.99 I think is such a great pickup, and I've had a lot of friends pick this one up and they've all enjoyed it. I saw some people in the comments section, a bunch of you guys picked it up because you know, it's been on sale a couple times, and $4.99 is just such a great pickup. It's a game that's more associated to being played on a PC, and yeah, keyboard and mouse is definitely the optimal control scheme for this game. I played it on PC first, but it works well enough with the DualShock 4 controls, and again, south of $5, I think it's a pretty good pickup. Next up, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, a game that is often recommended by a lot of people. It is a very, very emotional game, and it's definitely one that has an emphasis on its story and narrative and getting you attached to the characters. A lot of people say that they cry man tears while they play this game, or just tears in general. Yeah, that happens. Now, I got pretty emotional playing the game, and I played it years ago, and the story still sticks with me. It's a pretty enjoyable experience. It's not the longest game in the world, but that's not really what it's supposed to be. You're in here for an emotional experience, and I feel like they really hit the heartstrings as far as that's concerned. Would give it a recommendation, especially because of how cheap it's going, $3.99, so that is a pretty good pickup. So yeah, check that out. Okay, next up we have Darkest Dungeon, which is 80% off for $4.99. This game is going to be added to Xbox Game Pass very soon. So if you do have like a PC or an Xbox, you should be mindful of that. But it's a very, very challenging turn-based RPG where you do have to be mindful of a lot of different mechanics. A game with quite a bit of replay ability on top of that, so if you want something that's going to have a little bit longevity to it, you know, outside of a game like Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Like, Brothers is a game you'll play once and you'll have a great experience, but Darkest Dungeon is going to be a game that you can go back to pretty regularly, and I think for $4.99, this may be the cheapest I've seen the game for, so I think that's quite a good pickup. There is the Ancestral Edition that is 75% off for $9.99, so you can check that out as well, but pretty good deal on that. And lastly, we have the Vanishing of Ethan Carter, which is 85% off for $2.99, which I think is a really good deal. Now, this is the type of game that might not be for everyone, just because, you know, it's not about the action-oriented gameplay or anything like that. It's more of a detective mystery game with a big emphasis on exploration and discovery, very much into absorbing you into the game and establishing a high-quality atmosphere, and those elements, they do the game really, really well. But I know some people just aren't into games like that, so be mindful and know what you're getting yourself into. But if you want something that really focuses on setting an eerie mood, you know, focuses on exploration and less so on action-oriented gameplay and being more of a story-driven title, this is something you'll definitely want to check out. And maybe at the initial $20, $25 price point, it was a little bit much, but at $2.99, I think it's a great pickup and definitely would give it a recommendation. And that is going to conclude this one. There are a ton of deals as a part of this sale. I was seeing game after game under $5. We're probably going to do another video taking a look at some other games, just because there's games like Disco Elysium, which is on sale, which is a tremendous game, a little bit more expensive, but there's just great stuff top to bottom. Now, on the surface, a lot of these you know, indie titles might not be the most visually and aesthetically pleasing, and some of them even are. Some of them look great from a visual standpoint, but they're not the games that necessarily are going to have billboards or advertising all over the place, but they're great games nonetheless, and I would recommend you just check out one or two of them. They're super cheap on this list, and I feel like there's something for everyone. If you want a horror game, SOMA's right up your alley. RPG, Banner Saga. If you want something that's a little bit more emotional and story-driven, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons is great. You want something super challenging, Super Meat Boy. You really are covering the gambit in terms of genres here. So that's gonna wrap up this one. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.